think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield Home Security System guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CFs, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
All right, good evening. It is time for the Squared Circle Digest. I am Sean Stanley here in the Miami Gardens OK Coin Studios, and Raw has gone off the air, and to be honest, not that bad of a Raw. One thing that I really liked about it, not that many rematches. There was a lot of new things established. There was the RK Bro Alpha Academy match there, just kind of setting up with the Usos. But other than that, pretty much everything. Naomi Liv Morgan also was a little bit of a rematch there, but overall, I thought the Raw was pretty good tonight. Not terrible, not as bad as they have been. And the fact that they put out started some new feuds, the Cody Rhodes thing with AEW. Did anybody else pick up on the shot that he threw at AEW, or at least what I perceive as a shot? Also, anybody in there in the chat, get your comments lined up there in the chat. Boss B, how you doing? Good evening. Let me know what you thought of Raw tonight. If you watched it, if you didn't, just say nah, didn't watch it. But Cody started. Well, actually, the Miz started the show. It was Miz TV, and Cody comes out, and there was the setup for their match later on in the evening. And Cody threw out a. They went back and forth on the wrestler superstars thing because Vince McMahon is very keen on, which is very interesting to me also, how Cody would say wrestlers and then Miz would automatically correct them as superstars. And in the promo, he was kind of like, you saw I left and I've come back and I'm different. You stayed here, you're good old reliable Mike. And what has it gotten you in your career? So ultimately, when you look at it, and good evening there. When you look at what they're doing with Cody, they're almost giving him a bigger push than what he was ultimately getting. And if you heard Chris Jericho, I read some comments somewhere where he kind of hinted at the fact that Cody left was because basically he felt like he wasn't getting the respect or the pushes that he wanted to get. Ultimately, he didn't feel like he was getting his just due there at AEW. So he packed his bags and headed north. And ultimately, right now, WWE is making him look larger than he ever did in AEW. And tonight, he kind of fired some shots. He stood up during the Miz TV, jumped up on the ropes and did some, just craziness. And he said, it's been a while since I've been in a crowd in front of this many people, in front of a crowd this big. And to me, that is a shot at AEW because that's where he's been. And ultimately, we knew, listen, it never ends well when you have these partnerships, when you have like 4 or 5 people involved. And then you have somebody, I think, ultimately that they think is a money man and then ends up becoming, wanting to run it himself, which, listen, if I got that much money involved in a program, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to get my say in there. And Tony Khan is not he's not a stupid man, you know. And so um, Steve says, I thought it was pretty good. I like the guy that pounded Dominic Mysterio. Veer was his name. Yeah, Veer. He's got an old school. Yeah, he does. And I saw it cross, and it kind of crossed my mind too. But he's their Miro now. He's their Rusev or whatever you want to call him. That's the position that he took over. And then what's funny is he's using the Rusev move as well as for his finisher, which is what he ended up doing to Dominic Mysterio. Um, I like what they're doing with the Damian Priest, AJ Styles. Did not understand the finish of that match to just cut the lights out. I mean, I get it. You're trying to, you know, get this whole build up with Edge and I guess like, you know, I don't know, the brutish type stuff and the lights going out and everything else like that. But in the middle of a match, AJ's thrown out of the ring or goes outside the ring. Damian Priest kind of just drops to his knees in the middle of the ring. The lights go out. They go to commercial. You come back and they're like, okay, we've got power restored. And then it's AJ Styles being interviewed in the back asking what the hell's going on around here. And it's like, that was the finish of the match. That's how you're going to end that. I mean, just think again, plenty of time to build in this thing, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, don't end a match that way. To me, it was very just improperly done to me. If you're trying to get me to build up and believe in this whole thing, cutting off the lights, going to break does not have me believing in anything that was going on. I thought the Cody and Miz match was good. I thought it was fantastic. Again, Cody is going to get the rub right now. I don't know that he's going to get, you know, again, they're putting him with Seth Rollins right now, which is, I think, a good thing to do. Get him with Seth Rollins, then maybe one more feud, and then you start kind of throwing him up toward the title picture if you want to do that route. Again, I don't see him beating Roman Reigns right now. I don't see that happening. And I can't believe that Vince McMahon brought Cody Rhodes back in to be the one to end Roman Reigns as heavyweight champion. I mean, I don't believe that. Starting to like Kevin Owens, haven't been too familiar with him until recently. Has he always been a little unhinged, or is this a new angle for him? No, he's always, that's kind of him. That's who he is. And the whole thing is what they're playing off of is, and Steve, I don't know how much you've really followed WWE recently, but a guy named Elias used to play guitar, had a big beard, and you know, just played the guitar and came to the ring. Basically, they had him cut his hair, which is the Ezekiel guy, is really, you know, for those that might not believe it, is the real Elias. And now he's like, oh no, I'm not Elias, I'm Ezekiel, Elias's little brother. And they're playing off that now. They're kind of trying to make him seem like he's being unhinged because he knows it's Elias, but everybody's calling him Ezekiel. And then, you know, he was like, I can't even get his library card today. You know, again, that's Kevin Owens there. I think Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are kind of cut from the same cloth when you have that. They're very entertaining, and then they can get in the ring and back it up. So Kevin Owens is very good. The one thing that I worried about when Kevin Owens first got in was his physique, is because he's not a Vince McMahon build. But when Triple H was there, you saw him. He got a run with the Universal title. He got a run. He beat Cena his first night on Raw. He beat Cena. So Kevin Owens came in with a fury, and his contract was up recently. Him and Sami Zayn both, they re-signed with WWE. They're happy there, and why not? I mean, and this was not, a lot of people were like, oh, he must have signed because they're going to put him with Stone Cold. That was not figured into his contract before he signed it. He had already signed it. Then they started working on the stuff with Stone Cold there. But no, Kevin Owens is very good. And yeah, it is who was Elias. They were going to bring him back earlier, but they had put him like in all this garb that he looked like the Macho Man. So they did not want him to wear everything. So now I guess they just did the tie-dye trunk, as the trunks are the only thing he's doing with the Ezekiel now, instead of, I think he had a headband. He had like all this other stuff, but they said Vince said he looked too much like Macho Man. And That's why he didn't debut before WrestleMania. They waited till after WrestleMania and they brought him out that Monday after. And it looks like he's going to feud with Kevin Owens. Tommaso Ciampa also made his, I guess, debut on Raw tonight. I really like the promo that Bobby Lashley and MVP cut, just setting up, again, the history between the two of them. Omos, he was like, look, I may have been the past, you might be the present, but I'm looking at the future, with Omos and things like that. And it's going to build up. It's going to be a slow build. And again, MVP is great on the mic and he's going to add to everything that, look, Bobby Lashley can handle his own in the ring. Omos is the one I'm worried about. I thought at WrestleMania they did just a perfect timing on the match. Don't make Omos do too much. Get Lashley in there, kind of go back and forth with them, and then ultimately he got the victory there. And then the next night, he's turned on by MVP, and MVP came out and said, "You didn't need me. Your WrestleMania moment, you didn't need me," and that ultimately fueled his betrayal to Bobby Lashley. So again, they're working a good story there, building that up. I like what I see there. Bianca took care of Zelina Vega tonight, and then Sonya Deville looks like she's going to be returning back into the ring now, and she ended up attacking Bianca from behind when she said her opponent was going to be announced. And let me see here. Steve's actually talking about it right here. I thought the mystery opponent for Bianca was going to be Ronda, setting up possible unification match between her and Charlotte, because I know you haven't had enough of them. Oh, Steve. You got me. I want more Ronda and Charlotte. Yes. But I like the fact that, Sonya kind of is getting back into the wrestling part of it. I don't know what the legal thing is right now going on with her. That's kind of why she stepped away from the ring for a while. And then she came back kind of on the executive side, doing the executive stuff. And then, and now hopefully she gets back in the ring, because I think she's very good inside the ring as well, and can bring another dynamic to that women's division. And it's something fresh, because she hasn't been around for a while. So at least now it's not the same old. They are going to do the tag team match next week on Raw, which will be Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan against Naomi and Sasha. Again, I think Rhea is looking to change her character, her persona a little bit, and go with Damian Priest and Edge. Ultimately, I think that probably takes place then. You have Theory also going to take on Finn Balor next week. I like now that Raw is actually putting matches out a week in advance. I mean, it used to be you would get like Bobby Lashley will be on Raw or Roman Reigns, but never be matches. I like they kind of taken that, from what AEW does, and at least you have something to look forward to. As far as, when I turn on Raw, at least I know these are the three matches that they're hyping, because before it was just like, hey, next week we'll have Bobby Lashley on. Next week we'll have, MVP on, and it was just consistently just garbage, because they're basically putting the card together up until the last minute, and people were going out on the stage and didn't even know what they were doing, because they didn't okay the rundown until an hour before the show. Frankie Fresco, what's up, my man? How we doing tonight? Don't forget tomorrow morning also, or well, not tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow morning, I guess, we will be at Caneswear. So make sure if you can, stop by, say hi to us. We'll be out there from 10 to 1 tomorrow morning. So that's why this show is going to be a little bit abbreviated tonight. Got to get some sleep and get up and go get all that set up in the morning. So we go live from Caneswear tomorrow. And then, of course, Thursday, we are at Hialeah Park. And Friday, I believe it's KSDT this week. So we got a lot of remotes going on there. But right now, we is talking some wrestling. Cody did took some shots at AEW. And it's funny right now, because Tony Khan is kind of in the hairs of a couple people. I don't know if anybody saw the story, or, again, I know a lot of you probably don't really. Why did WWE let go of Samoa Joe? The one thing WWE will not do is put somebody that they think might be a danger to themselves in the ring. The one thing, Pasa Azul, thank you, my man. You have a good night as well. The one thing with WWE is they're probably careful to a fault, and maybe because again they're they are a publicly traded company. They can't have people, just let's throw them out there. Samoa Joe had a lot of concussions, and they wanted him, I believe, to stay more on the side of behind the scenes. They brought him back. They let him go before when he was on commentator only. Then Paul Triple H, Paul Levesque, brought him back to NXT as Regal's, enforcer, I guess. And then he ended up wrestling again there. And then ultimately they kind of just let him go from that as well. The one thing I do worry at, AEW again is, and I'm not saying that they don't care, because that's not the right wording there, is that, again, they're trying to, one up WWE and kind of win the battle, which I don't think that they're going to do. I want to see what this Raw does tonight. Last week Raw did a 2.1 and AEW didn't even do 1 million, and they had a pretty damn stacked card on AEW. But again, Samoa Joe wanted to be in the ring. WWE didn't want him in the ring just because of the concussions. So ultimately, if you're not going to use me, then let me go. And I guess you can say they had enough respect for him to let him go, if you want to look at it that way, so he could go on and do whatever it is he wanted to do, with that. Getting back to the Tony Khan thing, Braun Strowman, or what the hell is he? What was he calling himself now? I can't remember. AEW has better talent on paper, and of the two promotions, WWE has the money and drawing power. Alexander, I mean, I don't know if they have the better talent. I think WWE's got some good talent. I mean, I think they could go, they could probably go evenly, but I think WWE has the production and the name for the last, forever. Whereas AEW is kind of the one thing I think that they may have done maybe wrong is they followed the WCW template a little bit too much by bringing in all the people that WWE let go, because you're doing very well building your own guys. And I understand they got to bring those guys in. Don't get me wrong, but they brought in a lot, and now you're seeing a lot of the talent that they were. Like I saw a thing today, Ruby Soho hasn't been on TV in 110 days. 110 days. Think about that. It's almost 4 months, four and a half months. She hasn't been on TV. And that was one of your big hires, right? You brought her in and you get all this hype, and she hasn't been on TV in 4 months. You've got, wrestlers' contracts coming up. And again, AEW did right by everybody, including independent wrestlers, by paying them during the pandemic and bringing them in and doing stuff there. But at the same time, now you're having guys kind of, and again, I'm going off what has been reported and what, some of the wrestlers are saying on their own on podcasts and things like that. Joey Janela came out and said nobody had even talked to him. His contract was coming up. He doesn't even, he just knows he was told they're not re-signing him. Marco Stunt, the same thing. Again, those guys are not guys that, probably would have had a long lifeline, honestly, in AEW. But when you start looking at the talent that they were building up now, I mean, now the Hardys have been on TV every week. The Young Bucks have been on the last 3 or 4 weeks. And again, I think Cody kind of saw the writing on the wall and was like, wait a minute, if they got all this coming in, what's left for me? Where do I fit into this puzzle? Because again, remember, he's already out of the world title picture, because the first, 3-4 months of existence in AEW, he lost the match saying he would never challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight title. So he can't get in that picture. He was in the TNT title, but again, you're Sammy Guevara. You have some of those other guys there, but Cody saw himself being, larger than what they had there. And when you see him come out on WWE TV, he looks like $1 million now. He had some great entrances in AEW. But when you look at the entrances now and the pyro and the production that WWE has with the camera angles, it just has that bigger, big league feel than what AEW has. It's production. That comes down to a lot of these guys. And again, in AEW, they've got creative control and not creative control. Let me rephrase this. They have a lot of say in the creative side of their gimmicks and things like that. I mean, they ultimately have bullet points that they have to hit and things like that. Do you think in time the people will turn on him just like in AEW? I think ultimately, of course. I mean, everybody's got it. You're gonna have to change with everybody because I think right now he's the shiny new toy in WWE, and he's the first person to leave AEW and go to WWE. And if you listen to what he said, he's not the last. Take that for what it is. But I can tell you now, if AEW starts losing guys over to WWE, WWE could just pay guys and put them on the bench. They don't got to bring them in. Oh, look, they didn't have to let these guys go out of contract. They could have had them sit at home and collect their downside guarantee. They let a lot of these guys go. And if you look at it right now, Matt Cardona is one of the ones that's taking full advantage, almost doing the same thing in theory that Drew McIntyre did when he got let go, and the same thing Cody Rhodes did when he got let go. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you'll see, I don't know if they're going to bring him back in as Zack Ryder or they bring him back in as Matt Cardona, or if he even wants to go back. But again, he's going to get probably a big money offer, depending on how he left. I hadn't heard anything that he had left on bad terms, but with the amount of fire that he has right now, Matt Cardona's doing the same thing. He's building that back up to where, look, Cody left as Stardust. Remember that. His last match was Stardust in WWE. Went out, did his whole thing, did Japan, did AEW, turns that around, and now he's making the contract I heard was a multi-year deal worth $3 to $5 million. And that's what he did on his own. Did Tony Khan help him out? 100%. But ultimately he left because he wasn't happy with what they were doing with him and his character. He changed his physique, his look, came the American Nightmare. And Vince saw money. And if Vince sees money in you, you're going to get paid. Let's see here. Do you think he'll be okay becoming a heel? If they do it right, again, man, it all comes down to how they do it. I mean, you can't just, have him on, this level as a baby and then just flip him on a dime, unless you can get somebody that's up even with him. You can do the old, Seth Rollins might be that character. I mean, I don't think they do it in the first feud, but, Seth Rollins could be one of those guys that ultimately you could see one of those, the Bret Hart Stone Cold, where in the middle of the match, it just slowly turns to where, Stone Cold becomes the baby and Bret Hart becomes the heel. You can ultimately see that. CM Punk making more. Honestly, Frankie, I don't know what CM Punk's getting paid. I didn't see any details on their deal. That with the numbers I saw on Cody was from a site that I respect, and but they weren't sure where it was. It was in that range is what they said. I got to believe CM Punk is getting pretty good money right now to come back. I have to believe that, again, You can say you love the sport, you love the profession, I love wrestling, I eat, sleep, drink it. No, you're in it to make the money. That's what it's all about. If Vince decides to sell or he ever passes, who would take over or buy the promotion? It's funny because Alexander Nusho, they said JR talked about this on his uh, JR's Grill podcast that he had, and he said he thought that ultimately he would sell it because he doesn't believe that anybody there right now would run it the way that he would want it run. And he used the example of if he really believed that they would do it right now, they would be running it right now. Vince would be like, he said Vince always wants to be involved, but you would see some of them taking more of more of control. And Triple H was doing that, and then he had his condition, and then now he kind of got, back down a little bit. Maybe that'll pick back up there. But it was interesting to hear him say that he thought it would be more in depth to selling the company than to give it. I honestly thought it would be, Triple H, Stephanie, Nick Khan, like some kind of a group of people that would kind of take over and run it. But you never know right now, man. This is a crazy thing because that again with WWE, it's not just the wrestling company. They have the production company, they have the music, they have the movies. You have WWE Network. They have a whole entertainment platform now that it's not just the wrestling that you're purchasing. So you never know. I mean, and again, that's hearsay. Maybe behind the scenes, it's all like, hey, Triple H, Stephanie, it's yours when I'm ready to give it to you. But everything's playing out. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Because a lot of these people know Vince McMahon and how he works. I mean, hell, JR worked with him forever. And he said he might die owning the company, which then goes to, I guess what does he put in the will? I want the company sold, and then the estate gets the money, and divide it up amongst them, or does it go to whoever? That's going to be one of the things, And well, Peacock would be NBC Universal. That's USA Network. It's NBC. So ultimately, I mean, they may buy it, but then the other thing is, does it change the content? How do they change it? Because an interesting thing was kind of thrown out there today and on the wrestling Twitter. Everybody, everybody, it's just like, Dolphins Twitter and NFL Twitter. Everybody thinks they know everything. But an interesting question did get thrown out because Time Warner, which is the partners for AEW, wants to go to more PG family friendly programming. So where does that put? Because you can't have the blood and guts and the chair shots and all the craziness. If they go to family friendly, you're looking at PG. And right now, AEW is everything but that right now. So now does that put another obstacle in the way of AEW? Or do they say, we back you up to 9 o'clock, you're 9 to 11 now, and have at it, Frankie Fresco said, Sean, I was at the UFC 273, Tony Khan. Yep. Yeah, I think they sat right behind Dana. I think they're right behind Dana, if I'm not mistaken. Dana White there. Frankie says, not even Shane would take over. Listen, Shane came back, did the Royal Rumble, and apparently upset everybody in the locker room. And the next day he was just sent home by Vince. And they haven't really spoken about Shane a lot since then. I think he was at WrestleMania, but not he was just there, to be there. He wasn't going to, he wasn't there to compete or anything. He was just there, I guess, visiting, if you want to say, or in the back. Would WWE ever sell to Tony Khan? No, 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 no. Nick Khan, maybe, who is the chief. I think he's the CEO, I believe, or CFO. One of those O's in the up in the hierarchy. But I don't ever see them selling. There's no reason. Why would you sell to Tony Khan? For what? Right now you're beating them. You're not even it's not even close, you know. I mean, there is no way that Vince, again, this is one of the things with Vince too, is that again, you see it every time with his anything that's his product. It's he's not gonna do anything to damage his product. You know, I go back to the old story, NWO, right? Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was his, and again, the fans were asking for it. So I'm not going to say, you know, it was a very easy decision for Vince McMahon to make, but he was going to be, okay, it's Hulk Hogan over Hollywood Hogan because Hollywood Hogan isn't mine. That was created elsewhere. I want the Hulk Hogan who was built under this banner. That's what Vince McMahon always does, which is why I don't ever see him going, because honestly, you sell to Tony Khan, you're kind of saying, all right, here you go. You're better than us. You're going to take, because that's what it's going to look like if you sell to whatever the quote unquote competition. Let's see. Isn't Shane out of the business completely? He is and he isn't. He's wherever he wants to be. Honestly, all the McMahons are. Alexander says, is WWE going all in on Omos? Omos. I don't know about all in yet. I like the fact they put him with MVP to work with him, and I like the fact that he's working with Lashley in the ring. You know, because again, he needs to be seasoned up. You can tell he's still hesitant on certain things. He's a freaking monster. I get that and everything else, but he was getting pushed way too soon. I was so happy when they were to at WrestleMania when they put Bobby Lashley over. I think that was probably the loudest I cheered, honestly, just because I did not want Bobby Lashley to job out to Omos at that point, because to me Omos isn't ready. Ultimately, I think overall in the long term, I think they're all in on Omos. But again, it goes back to one of the other things is, when you look at the things, is he going to be your, and I don't mean he's in this league at all, so don't sit there and go crazy here, but is he an attraction like what Andre was, or is he a guy that you throw in the title picture? To me, he's the attraction. He's the 7'1" guy. He's the attraction. Don't put him in the world title picture. Just make him a monster and leave him over on this side of the card, and then let your, you know, have the other champions and everything else there. I think if you put a strap on him, he doesn't need it. If you book him properly and you get everything right with Omos, I don't think he needs a belt. He's already an attraction on his own. Frank Fresco, I mean, if he was to retire, I think if he retires, he either sells it, you know, to NBC Universal or Nick Khan, or you know, again, there's gonna be so many people that will probably want to get a piece of that. There might be other things, but I could see NBC Universal being one of the people to bid for it, and then ultimately, you know, Triple H and everything there. No, I mean, but I mean, again, I think they messed with Big Show when they put him in the title picture. Those guys like that, look, let him do his Yokozuna matches, all that stuff with Big Show. Let him be an attraction. To me, they messed up when you start putting them in title pictures. Then you start kind of diminishing the attraction part of what they were. You know, again, Andre didn't really go for the title till later in his career. You know, at WrestleMania it was 3 and everything else there, you know. So, I mean, he really didn't go for titles until later. And again, level wise, yeah, he's going to be, again, nobody's going to be on that level. But what I mean is an attraction. Whereas, you know, Andre didn't have to have a belt. You brought him in and he was going to make money. Why? Because he's Andre the freaking Giant. If you can do that with Omos, ultimately, I think that's the way you want to book him. You want to book him as the attraction, the must see, the guy going, not the number one contender for the heavyweight title with Roman Reigns. I just think ultimately you take away and you diminish what is the attraction. You know, again, Andre, later in his career, kudos to him for doing it. He kind of passed the torch to Hogan, right? When he let Hogan body slam him and beat him at WrestleMania 3. He knew that was it. He was getting up there to where he's not going to be there doing this much longer. His back was going out, his hips, everything else. He had already been there for the attraction. So he became in the world title picture. Why? Because now it boosted up Hogan to even higher heights than what he already was. Do you like Mahan? I'm indifferent right now with Veer Mahan. I need to see what they're going to do with him. I mean, look, honestly, I think that was more to get Dominic Mysterio off of TV than it was to push Veer Mahan. They had to hey, who do we want to write off TV? Hey, throw him out there with Dominic. See you later, Dominic. Put him in the hospital. Put him in the ambulance. We'll send him away for a while. Now he's off of TV. It'll be interesting to see what they do, but I laughed very hard when I saw wrestling Twitter just going, oh, he's the next Rusev. That is what, and again, that's kind of the way WWE does, right? You always have that role. There's always that John Cena. Right now, that's Roman Reigns. And I'm saying there's always that one, however you want to look at it, there's a position and who's filling that position now. It's going to be interesting to see once they do all these unified titles. Now they're going to try to unify the tag team titles. I got to think the women's titles will probably be next. It'll free up a little bit. Yeah, no. Yeah. Miro, he hasn't been on TV in a while. He was injured for a little while too. But again, there's only 2 hours of TV, man. That's all they do. This week, I think they get an extra hour because Rampage is actually coming on at 7:00, I believe. Because of, I think no, it's not the playoffs. Playoffs don't start till Sunday. So I'm not sure why, but they're starting at 7. Oh, you know why? Because I think it is the Western Conference. The Western Conference play-in game would come on later. So they're actually coming on at 7. And then the Western Conference is on right after them. So again, it's going to be interesting because again, you've got 2 hours of TV and you've got CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley. Let's see who else. Now Samoa Joe. That's the Hardys, Andrade. And I'm just naming WWE people right now. And when you look at all that, I asked that question to a respected reporter that is there, and he seemed to think that they would never push Rampage to 2 hours. And right now, you have to remember, every other week Rampage is taped, so it's not even a live hour. They record that, and so 1 week it's live, and then the next week it's usually the recorded of before that show. So every other week it's live, So I don't know. Again, TNT's got to, where's the money coming to? Do they believe enough in Rampage? Because Rampage ratings are not. Look, they're about 500,000-600,000 for a show that But again, it comes on at 10:00 at night, and half the time it's recorded, and everybody already knows the results. If you go live and you move it to 8 and you go live and people don't know results, does that change it a little bit? That might be something needed to do. Let's see. Alexander, the brand splits will end. I think it will be good. No more Raw stars on Raw and no more SmackDown. Yeah, it will end that. But ultimately, I guess my question would be, then do you start seeing the same guys on Raw and SmackDown? Does it become 3 hours? You see them 3 hours on this show, and then you're gonna see the same guys 2 hours and same guys and gals for 2 hours on SmackDown because that's who they're pushing. Does that ultimately, you know, that's my only worry is that WWE sometimes gets a little bit lazy on the booking side, and it's like, okay, whatever's working on Raw, throw it on SmackDown. Whatever's working on SmackDown, put it on the Raw, and that's what you're gonna see. Let's see. Great show, Sean. Eric Collins. Eric Collins says, great show. My all-time favorite wrestler is Junkyard Dog and Wahoo McDaniel. Yep. No, I guess you're around my age then, because those Junkyard Dog was the man. Loved me some Junkyard Dog back in the day. And Wahoo was just Wahoo, man. Do not want to get chopped by that dude. They could go 9-11. Yeah, but ultimately, too, if you go 9-11, you have to look at where you're at, because now you're talking when you go on the West Coast, your shows will have to start at 6 o'clock. So, when you're on that TV schedule, you have to look again. Just not saying that Rampage maybe doesn't go west, and AEW doesn't go west a lot. They will start. I believe they're heading out to the Forum soon, but that's one of the things you got to look at when you're doing those start times. I mean, I know when they go west, they start at the 5 o'clock, time now, so probably not much of a difference. But AEW crowds have not been great. They haven't been. They do good, and they look great on TV. But if some people have taken full arena shots, and they do what you're supposed to do. They put everybody on the camera side. That's what you're supposed to do. Make that show look good. So, but ultimately, again, I'm not saying AEW is in trouble, but for what they're putting out there talent-wise and the matches, I don't know what the hell the issue is. I don't understand it. AEW is not even shown internationally. No, I think they are. I'm almost positive they are. Hold on 1 minute. Let me verify this. I mean, they're not like internationally like what WWE is, but I believe they are shown some internationally as well. Let's see here. All righty, hold on a minute here. So yeah, they're working on them in 21. Let me see if they're working on deals in India, Italy, Brazil, parts of South America, Germany, France, and parts of Africa were the ones there. Let me see if they actually got any inked here. Yeah, so they do have an India deal with Eurosport. So they are being shown internationally. I know in Australia they don't show it. My friend lives out there, and he said, "Okay, no, I mean, again, they're not everywhere. They're not like WWE. Don't get me wrong. No, they're only in certain markets. And again, that might be some of the stuff that hurts them, man. Because I think, look, the company is good. The wrestling's good. The production is what it is. That's what they can do right now with what they're getting from Turner. Ring of Honor will give them some more. I think it brought their production, cameras and things like that. So maybe now they can get, using some of their own stuff. Will Ring of Honor change some of the stuff? You got Samoa Joe signed to a Ring of Honor and an All Elite Wrestling contract. So you're going to have some more guys. I just don't know what this has been my one question when they started signing all these guys. Where the hell do they go? Because they're not going to put CM Punk and all them on Dark and on the YouTube channel maybe once in a while, just so they can push it and build up some numbers there. Well, those guys ain't going to be on dark elevation. So again, you've got 2 hours and you've got a jam-packed crowd of people. You know, I mean, you still got Jericho, now his JAS, you got Ortiz, Santana, you've got all the people that helped build up AEW. And then now you've got the people they've been bringing in, and there's still only 2 hours. Only 2 hours of TV. So that's something Tony Khan, again, do more people leave because they're not happy with the TV time they're getting? That seems to be if what Chris Jericho was talking and saying on the podcast is accurate, that's kind of what happened with Cody Rhodes. He's like, I can see the writing on the wall, and I don't want to be on YouTube all the time. So I'm going out. And they do, Alexander, AEW, if they're smart, they can have a show on YouTube. They have 2 shows, actually 3 shows, Dark and Dark Elevation, 2 shows, 2 shows on YouTube. One comes out on Monday night and one comes out on Tuesday night. And those, they have a lot of the younger guys on there. But, I mean, ultimately, you still don't have enough time right now. I mean, hell, this past week, it was Adam Page only did a run-in with Adam Cole, who wrestled. Red Dragon was only out with Adam Cole. They didn't wrestle. If you start looking at, I mean, hell, Sammy Guevara hasn't wrestled in over a month now. At least right now you have Wardlow out because you're doing the whole angle with him to where, you know, he comes into the building and there, and that's it. They vary. They sometimes they've got 12 matches on some of them. If you go to AEW, the YouTube channel, you'll see they got AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation. And you can watch those. They vary. Sometimes they'll have a lot of matches, sometimes not that many. What they usually do is they, if you've been to an AEW taping already, you probably know, but they'll do like about an hour. They'll go on at 7:30, and they'll do some matches, recording it, of course, leading into the Pyro and Dynamite goes live 8 to 10, and then at 10 they do a few more matches, and then they end up sending you home. And usually the last match is usually a pretty good one. But that's how they do their tapings there. So, Sean, who do you think will be the next AEW star to leave? Man, I don't even know whose contracts are coming up, but ultimately, I know 2 guys they want. I don't know if they're going to leave, but I know 2 guys WWE wants. It's MJF and Wardlow. I don't know when their deals are up. Other than that, let me think here. I mean, ultimately, I could see. Look, man. I mean, Moxley might be happy with where he is right now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those guys go back. Just why not? Just make one more money grab and go. It's just like it's you know it's if WWE wants them, they're going to pay for them, and now you have AEW there kind of using as a bargaining chip. Well, AEW is going to give me this, and then Vince will be like, okay, well, take that, or hey, I'll give you this, and then you go whichever one gives you the more money. I mean, that's the only good thing for some of these guys is you can kind of use it as a bargaining chip. If I'm MJF right now, the Vince, I'm being like, hey, Tony's offering me this, and this. What are you going to give me? Squeeze them, because they really want you. They're going to give you what they can. I don't think Keith Lee was a bad pickup, man. I love Keith Lee. I think he's a very agile. I mean, again, I don't think he's a bad pickup. I just don't know where he fits in right now. You have so many damn guys there, man. Like this week on Dynamite, it's Swerve and Keith Lee against Hobbs and Starks. You know, and this is the first time I think I've seen Starks wrestle on Dynamite in a little while too. So, I mean, again, this becomes the issue when you start signing all these guys. I mean, it's great to get that shiny toy. Pinto or Pop. Yeah, no, I haven't seen them. Yeah. No, I mean, they did the whole thing with Pinto where he did to the all black mask and all that. And he did one show and actually hasn't done, I know. So it's been about 2 or 3 weeks too. So it's going to be interesting to see there. Alexander, appreciate that, man. Yes, please hit that like button on the way out. I appreciate everybody. Yeah, no. I mean, look, it's MJF or Wardlow, I believe, but I just don't know when their contracts are up or if somebody's contract is up before that. And I could see some of these guys, hey, look, you go to good night, Steve. Have a good one, man. Talk to you in the morning. This show's gone longer than I wanted to go, but it is what it is. I love talking some wrestling. The one thing that you have to look at is, man, Hook is good, but he's one of those things that, like, again, everybody loves to cheer for him, and they're probably buying his merchandise and some stuff like that. But do you believe him against Keith Lee? I mean, I they've always put him in there with, QT and those guys like that. If he gets in there with, Moxley, Daniel Bryan, and again, nothing against Hook here. I'm not trying to say, I think he's tremendous. He could probably put me in a pretzel in 2.5 seconds. But the problem with a lot of these guys, and this is what, and again, I hate to give him the damn credit. One of the things Vince McMahon always said is, larger than life sells. And ultimately, unfortunately, that's truth. That's truth. Everybody loves, when Rey Mysterio won the heavyweight title, right? It was a great feel-good moment. He did it for Eddie. And then the luster of that wears off. And nobody really, again, it comes down to how many people goes to the live events. When you're the champion, you're the one bringing everybody to the show. If the crowd isn't there, it's not there because of you. Not because Vince puts out a crappy product on TV every week. No, that's not the reason. Oh, the reason is you, because I put the title on you. You're the face of my franchise, and now half my arena's empty. It's your fault. So now we drop the title. And that's why those guys don't keep the titles on long, because, again, Brock Lesnar's brought back for a reason. Goldberg's brought back for a reason. They dust off those guys all the time because they're larger than life. Everybody believes them in what they can do. And that's what sells, unfortunately. So again, we'll have to see what AEW does. And actually, that'll be the next broadcast. It will be after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday night. So make sure you're back here. It'll be at 10:05, right after they go off of the air on TNT. And I want to thank you guys, everybody in the chat. Let's see here. Frankie, Tony, Steve, of course. Let's see. Alexander, always. Let's see. Eric, appreciate you. Alexander, gotcha. Let's see here. My number one fan, my dad. Thank you, sir. Loves you. Pasta Vazul is in. Boss B started us out as always. Thank you, Boss B. Thank you, everybody. Steve, as always. And in the words, wait a minute. Hold on here. Boss B says, I'm watching Wednesday. I want everybody back here. 10:05. Let's talk more wrestling. Let's take a look at AEW tonight. And when you watch AEW, if you do watch AEW, try to see which guys they throw out there, which guys don't make it on TV. That's homework I'm going to give you guys. See who they use, see who they don't use. And let's talk about maybe some guys you think they should have used that maybe didn't get on air. But also remember, this Wednesday is a live Dynamite. The Friday is a live Rampage, which is going to feature Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole 2. That's on the Rampage Friday. So They might get away with some stuff this Wednesday that normally they can't get away because of the live show on Friday. So in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CS, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so